Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today at this joint news conference regarding the 30-meter telescope. We have 4 speakers. Following their remarks, we will go to media Q&A. Our first speaker will be Governor David Ige. The second speaker will be Dr. Henry Yang. He is the chair of the 30-meter telescope International Observatory Board of Governors. The third speaker will be Ed Sniffen. He is the Deputy Director for Highways at the Department of Transportation. And the fourth speaker will be Suzanne Case, Board of Land and Natural Resources. Governor?
Yes, thank you for joining us here this afternoon. Last month, the state issued a notice to proceed for the 30-meter telescope. Today, we are announcing that construction will begin the week of July 15th. As construction begins, our number one priority is everyone's safety. There will be times when lanes of the road are closed, and they will be closed for health and safety reasons, especially when moving large equipment on trucks. To ensure everyone's public safety, the Department of Transportation will be issuing an advisory today about information about potential lane closures and road closures. The Department of Land and Natural Resources will be closing the mountain to hunting, also to maintain public safety. We have followed a 10-year process to get to this point, and the date for construction to begin has arrived. Concurrently, we have more significant work to do to strengthening our stewardship of Mauna Kea going forward. For those concerns that we have moved, for those who are concerned, we have moved forward with decommissioning other telescopes on the mountain. 2 telescopes have begun the environmental review process for removal and site restoration. I continue to be willing to meet with those who oppose this project. I'm continuing to engage them, and I'm committed to respecting their perspectives as the project moves forward. I am also working with Mayor Kim, with a broader group of members in our community, to achieve a much broader vision of Mauna Kea as a symbol of peace and international cooperation and collaboration. We know that how we manage Mauna Kea moving forward is an important component to this conversation. I know that the University of Hawaii continues to make meaningful changes that further contribute to the coexistence of culture and science on Mauna Kea. And I believe that we can find a new way forward. The future is greater if we can find a way to work together.
After being given all the necessary clearances by the state of Hawaii and respectfully reaching out to the community, we are ready to begin work on this important and historic project. We have learned much over the last 10 plus years on the unique importance of Mauna Kea to all. And we remain committed to being respectful stewards on the mountain and inclusive of the Hawaiian community. Hawaii is a very special place that has long pioneered and honored the art and the science of astronomy and navigation. We would like to acknowledge those who disagree with the project and express our respect for their views. We are deeply grateful to our many friends and supporters in the community during this journey. We also thank our project partners for their steadfast commitment to the 30-meter telescope in Hawaii. Thank you.
Aloha. Following Governor's direction, we're working to make sure that everyone stays safe on the mountain. The concerns that DOT is working towards is making sure that the heavy equipment that is going to be used on the mountain gets there safely and efficiently. We're working with the contractor right now to determine how much equipment is going up there and the sizes of the equipment. A lot of the equipment are large, exceed the lane widths. They're heavy, which requires those trucks to stop intermittently along Daniel K. Inouye Highway and then going up Mauna Kea Access Road. To ensure that everyone is safe, we're looking at lane restrictions on Daniel K. Inouye Highway as necessary. It's a wide road, so we know we can push forward on restricting laneage and still allowing access in both directions on that highway. On Mauna Kea Access Road, it's a very small roadway with a steep slope. So the public can expect that starting from July 15th, Mauna Kea Access Road will be shut down. We'll be restricting access up Mauna Kea Access Road, and on Daniel K. Inouye Highway, there could be lane restrictions that limit capacity in different directions. But we'll make sure that we have capacity moving in both directions throughout. We're making sure that we do this to ensure that we minimize any intersections with those large vehicles and people or vehicles in those areas. We're hopeful that by restricting the access to Mauna Kea Access Road, we can get the equipment up a lot faster, which gets them off our roads a lot faster and minimizes the impacts to the public. Thank you.
For the safety of the public and the personnel, we will be closing hunting units A, K, and G in the Mauna Kea Forest Reserve area on a temporary basis beginning July 15th. Presence in those units with methods of such as firearms or bows will be prohibited during the closure.
So, sorry, before we begin with media Q&A, if you could just state your name, the organization you're with, and the person to whom you're addressing your question, please. Thank you. Nobody wants to go first?
Questions?
I have a question. Mahealani Richardson with Hawaii News Now, and this is for Dr. Yang. Is TMT planning to reimburse the state and county for the security services, transportation services that it's providing?
So if I might just help with that. Dr. Yang, the question is about cost and what TMT's cost is, and are you reimbursing the state?
Yeah.
Sorry, can you step to the mic?
Yeah.
I think, I do think that we are committed to providing a safe access to all permittees, and certainly the state has a share of that cost as well as the county. We're working with the county to coordinate whatever activities is necessary to provide safe access.
Rick Asog with Hawaii News Now. I guess this question is for Suzanne. Who will be the lead agency for security and enforcement? Will it be DoCare and HPD, or how would that work? And will the National Guard play a role in this as well?
Actually, Rick, I think that AG Connors is here. Okay. Claire Connors is here, and she can help address that question. She's here for Q&A, so thank you.
Sure. The law enforcement activities have been coordinated. I think Chief Ferrer testified a couple days ago that when it comes to the access of roadways in Hawaii and on Hawaii Island, that is an obligation of Hawaii County PD to ensure the safety, the accessibility of the roads. So in that regard, they will be playing a role. Surely, as the different law enforcement agencies are working on this project, there will be a coordination of those efforts. Regarding the National Guard question, I don't know if the governor wants to take that one.
Certainly, we are providing National Guard support to the activities. They have a very specific support role. They'll be providing transportation of personnel and supplies as requested. They also have been asked to support road closures and other activity that may be necessary.
I'm Jennifer Kelleher from the Associated Press. This question is for the governor and for the AG. The ACLU put out a letter to the media today regarding what they're calling a sound gun, an LRAD. Does the state plan to employ that instrument?
I mean, I do think that, the LRAD, there's a lot of misinformation about that equipment. It's standard equipment that we have. We use it in emergency response situations where we expect to be able to communicate with many people over some distance. So it's standard equipment that we have in emergency management, in the police departments in every county. And certainly, if we have a need to communicate, if there is a large group of people, and we believe that this broadcast device would help us, we plan to use it.
I have a follow-up question.
Sure.
You know, in DLNR's letter to some of the community groups, they said that the LRAD could be used for, quote, standard use of force policy. So what is the standard use of force policy?
Maybe, that's a law enforcement question.
Right. The standard use of force policies are policies that are made publicly available by county, by agency, and they're available for DoCare on the website. The LRAD is not intended to be used for that purpose. I don't believe it's covered in the use of force policy, so it's going to be utilized, as the governor identified, for the public address capacity to ensure communication.
Just to clarify, the release talks about construction beginning the week of July 15th and road closures and heavy equipment, large equipment movement beginning on Monday. When would construction begin in sort of a more substantial?
Well, I think that it's a large project, so there'll be lots of activity that will continue for a number of years, actually. And, you know, clearly whatever equipment is required in that phase of the construction, obviously it's site preparation, that kind of activity that would occur initially. And as the structure is built, then different kinds of equipment would need to get up to the site, construction site. So obviously, it's the kind of equipment that would be involved with the earlier portions of the project, which would be the first up the mountain.
Anita Hofschneider from Honolulu Civil Team. A question for the governor and for COPS DOT. With the closure of Mauna Kea Access Road, what time will that occur on July 15th, and will it be closed for 24/7 or just for certain hours a day?
The target is to close at 7 o'clock a.m. on July 15th. It's going to be closed 24/7. And right now we're looking at adjusting the way we're running the project. Definitely we like to give mobility back to the public as soon as possible in any situation. But right now we're trying to plan to ensure that we get these pieces of equipment up the road as fast as possible. Right now we're looking at starting on 7 o'clock on the 15th. And it's going to be 24/7 until such time that we get the equipment up the hill.
Will there be any access for native and cultural practitioners who want to conduct their practice on the mountain?
During the shutdown, the road will be shut down for everyone. There'll be restricted access on the roadway itself. We don't like to restrict access. We want to make sure we provide that mobility as much as possible. But in this situation or situations like this, when there's heavy equipment that could cause safety issues, it's a lot better to make sure we shut things down in the short term to make sure we take care of everybody in the long term.
Will this be an indefinite closure then?
No, it's just to make sure that we can get the equipment up the hill.
And is there a time, sorry if I missed that, is there a time frame for how long that's expected?
Not at this time. So we're still working with the contractor to see how we can get the equipment up the hill, and it depends on the site, on what happens at the site. I mean, we're just going to have to play this one to make sure that the time frame is set to move things as quickly as possible and as safely as possible.
Ed, can you say is it hours, days, weeks that Mauna Kea Access Road would be closed?
I would say days.
Days.
Mm.
Ed, Tim Hurley, what kind of equipment is going to go off the road, and where is the closure going to be all the way down to the highway?
So the closure is down to the highway, at the intersection with Daniel K. Inouye Highway and Mauna Kea Access Road. The types of equipment they're looking at are for site clearing purposes. So you can look at loaders and dozers, rollers, rock crushers, and the like that you would see on any construction site for site prep.
This might be a question for Claire or Suzanne, but in the weeks leading up to this, can you, without giving away too many specifics, can you talk a little about the training that went on that you folks conducted before this day? I mean, some of the things that you looked at.
Sure. As I said, the law enforcement individuals and agencies that have been involved have been coordinating over periods of months. The officers are trained. They are going to be prepared to respond to whatever type of activity takes place. And that is how things will unfold. It will be reactive, and it will depend on what kind of conduct takes place. That is law enforcement's response.
So, what are the law enforcement agencies involved in that training?
Well, as was clear from the testimony earlier in the week, Hawaii County PD is playing a significant role in the initial movement because these involve Hawaii County roads and the safety of the community in Hawaii County. In addition to that, we have DoCare that's participating. We have public safety that's participating, and we have our own Department of Attorney Generals. We have an investigative division that's participating, and I think that's. And as we see how things play out, we'll be looking to whatever additional resources may be needed. But those have been the primary groups that have been coordinating up to this period.
Is the National Guard an option, last resort?
As I had announced that there are a few National Guards personnel who would be involved at this point. It's for transport of personnel and supplies. They also will be providing support for road closures and lane closures as necessary. Obviously, we are working with all of law enforcement to identify gaps in personnel that they need for different services, depending on what's happening.
This question would be for the governor and TMT as well. What message would you like to convey to people who feel like they feel compelled to go up to the mountain starting on Monday?
We just are asking people to be safe. I do expect the best of people in Hawaii, and we know that Hawaii is a very special place. We certainly would ask that they be respectful of those who have to work on this project as they try to make a living for their families. We certainly are being respectful of those who choose to voice their disagreement with the project. We understand that that's important as well.
Governor, in your last press conference on this, you mentioned this is a pipeline. This is not a pipeline. This is a telescope. Are you expecting any significant amount of out-of-town protesters, and do they potentially have a more disruptive effect?
Certainly the internet is a marvelous technology today, and there are many from all around the country and the world who has an interest in this project. We are preparing for a lot of different scenarios, and certainly we feel like the people of Hawaii always rise to the occasion to display and express the best behavior, and we do expect that from those from Hawaii. It's uncertain about the involvement of those out of state because they certainly may have different values or experiences.
Governor, this is a question for you or Dr. Yang. We understand from TMT that this is a 10-year construction process. So who provides security for TMT as once all the equipment is up there and it's being constructed?
So I can say that we are involved to getting equipment to the site. So certainly Hawaii County Police and the law enforcement are making plans to provide that access to the project site for those who are tasked with constructing.
We expected to work with the state, all the agencies, among ourselves, in the best possible way to continue our construction. It's going to be a long construction time ahead.
And what about the safety of the construction workers, and where will they stay?
The safety is absolutely the number one priority. And also, as Governor just said, safety and mutual respect are our fundamental principle.
Tom with KITV. So you mentioned it's going to be a long process. Eventually, you also mentioned some of the older telescopes coming down. Eventually, what's kind of the end goal? What will this new telescope kind of mean for the community, and also the research you guys are hoping to do that we'll be able to see from this?
Certainly I can speak to, as you know, part of the Office of Mauna Kea Management has engaged the community. University has committed to decommissioning and restoring the sites of 5 telescopes, I believe, in total. And so that work is ongoing, and, we are in the initial stages of that activity. I think Dr. Yang is probably more adept to talk about what the future of the 30-meter telescope and the kinds of research that it enables, and maybe a little bit about the discoveries.
Okay. We aim to build a TMT for the benefit of all mankind and to understand the universe in which we all live. As a new powerful optical telescope, TMT will enable astronomers to see further into our universe and reach back toward the beginning of time, facilitating unprecedented research and discovery.
And from my perspective, I'm excited that Hawaii will be connected to the research and the quest for knowledge going back into the beginning of time and what natural discoveries would result from that.
Dr. Yang, some have suggested that TMT doesn't have the funding it needs to get the whole telescope done. What do you think? What's the prospect for long-term funding?
We have our partners, domestic, international partners. All our partners are committed to and approve the decommissioning plan and also have committed to finish this project. And we are working very hard at it.
So you're confident there'll be the funding for you?
We are making, all our partners are committed to finish this project.
Mr. Yang, what's an updated cost of the project?
Actually, I don't have the exact number. If you want, I can give you later. It's very complex. There's so many pieces for that.
Oh, like an estimate?
Yeah, over such a long time, yes.
New York Times said $2 billion. We've been saying
Yeah, those are rough estimates. So if you want exact, I wasn't quite prepared to give you the detailed budget category.
Governor, when you mentioned the National Guard, will they be fully equipped with weapons?
No weapons. They are much like their disaster response responsibilities. They are really there to provide support. They will be providing transportation services to law enforcement personnel and supplies, and they also will be providing support for the road closures. I think the challenge is that the Hawaii County Police has regular duties, and certainly we do expect as we begin construction that there'll be increased focus in this area. And so certainly we want to make other kinds of personnel who can support different parts of the project available.
Will there be an area or platform or any kind of access off the highway or that's not blocking the work for protesters to assemble?
Sure. Right now, as Deputy Director Sniffen said, the mountain's open, and it's our hope that we can keep the mountain open except for the necessary closures to enable safe transport of the vehicles. So it is our position that there is no need to designate any area at this point in time, and we hope that the conduct of everyone who comes to Mauna Kea during this period of time allows us to keep the mountain open.
So how close, just a follow-up, how close can they come to, up the mountain to protest? How close to the road or up the road will they be allowed access to on the side?
When the road is closed? Right. I think the way to best frame this is that when the road is closed and the closures take place, we just are going to ask everyone to follow the rules, right? It's important to note that the DHHL property, for example, is private. That's not public land. It's important to obey the hunting rules that say you can't hunt in certain areas. So if law enforcement asks for people to do something, it's important to follow those orders. And I think that's the best guidance that we can give everybody on the mountain, is that if you're that we're hoping you're following the rules, and that if you're asked by law enforcement to do something, that you comply.
I had one more question.
Jen Bonisa from KHON. So just to be clear, if anybody's on the mountain when the road is closed, it's likely that they will be escorted off by law enforcement?
Well, it depends what type of activity they're engaged in, right? So as we've said, the mountain will be open, so we're not going to be asking people to leave the mountain if they're engaged in unlawful activity. If that's not the case, then yes, they will have to be possibly arrested if they refuse to obey a law enforcement order. When people do leave the mountain, they won't be able to get back up through the roads that are closed.
And I'm sure that there's a lot of OT time that's going to be involved with this for Hawaii County, for other state agencies and whatnot, security purposes. Is the state and the government, do we have the funds to continue to do this over the 10-year period, or is TMT going to be reimbursing all of that cost?
From our perspective right now, we are keeping very close track of all the different expenses that are related to this project. But in truth, the amount of money that gets expended is going to be responsive to the type of activity that occurs on the mountain. So we are keeping track of these costs. We are ensuring that that everyone is clear about what is being expended, but it's difficult to say now in anticipation of what happens how much will be expended, but we will be tracking those closely, and it will be a function of what type of response is required.
Claire, can you comment on the lawsuit that was filed yesterday in regards to the security bond?
Sure. We have reviewed it, and we're continuing to review it. None of the claims appear to have any merit, and it doesn't appear that it will affect the ability of construction to begin.
Are there any preparations in place in case mass arrests are necessary? Where will they be taken? Off the island, or will there be? What are the preparations for mass arrests?
Sure, yes. As I said, there has been quite a bit of coordination so that all operations can happen safely. And in fact, we've been coordinating with the prosecutor's office in Hawaii County. They will be prosecuting any cases and processing any arrests. And all that coordination is in fact taking place.
But will they be transported to Hilo?
That'll be a function of where on the mountain they're arrested. That'll be a function of a lot of different things that may happen as we see what type of activities engaged in. But it is something that we are coordinating through the Hawaii County Prosecutor's Office.
Anyone else? Kathy Ardonia from the Hawaii. Question for Governor Ige. When the telescopes, the other 2 to 4 telescopes are being commissioned, does it mean you guys are going to get rid of it completely, or is it going to be moved to other countries and another funder?
I'm not really. I do think as part of the decommissioning plan, they'll be looking at other uses for the equipment and materials, I assume. So I think as each telescope comes down, I think the active life of that equipment will be determined at that time.
Anyone else? I have a question for President Lasser. As you know, there is a divide in Kanakamoli views for faculty and students at TMT. What's your response for that moving forward?
Sorry, Dr. Lasser, can you use the mic, please? Thank you.
Oh, yeah, good point.
This has been really challenging, I think, for the entire community, including the University of Hawaii. Opinions are divided. As the governor said, we want to respect the opinions of those who oppose the project. There are also many, many people who see the benefits of the project, including many Kanakamoli, many of whom choose not to speak out in support, but many of whom do want to see this project built for the contributions to human knowledge, for the contributions to education, for the contributions to the economy and the sheer impact of discovery. And I think ultimately we've gone through over a 10-year process, and the culmination of that is the upholding of the Conservation District Use Permit, the issuance of a notice to proceed, and that's unfortunate. And I for those who oppose it, and I do feel their pain, but unfortunately, not everyone's in agreement, and people will be hurt, and for that, I am sorry.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you very much.